It is that time once again, 2023, first Phantom ride of the season. It is the last weekday of the summer season, and we're walking up here for last ride of the night on Phantom's Revenge. We are the last in line. Cam, how do you think this season went?
Splendid.
Like overall?
Splendid.
Absolutely splendid. Well, except for... Didn't I just do a recap on the 2022 season? Geez, time flies anymore, doesn't it? My perception of time notwithstanding, the 2023 amusement park season has come to an end, but for all you people who just can't get enough of the place, it's time for my annual recap of how the year went at my home park. Like any amusement park, the year had its highs and lows, as well as a few things that came out of left field, so let's get started with the pre-season happenings. We knew going in that 2023 would be part 2 of the park's plan to facelift many areas and buildings, and this included the newly announced Spinvasion and Area 412. This was a big deal, as this would be the big 125th season the park had been building up to for the last year or so. On March 22nd, the park held a media construction tour to show off some of the new improvements, and even though ride parts for Spinvasion wouldn't arrive until the following week, there was still plenty to see. Construction on the new area was progressing well, and many more buildings were being painted. Kennywood must have gotten some kind of bulk deal on paint 2 years ago, because they've been painting everything in the park. Not that I'm complaining. On April 12th, it was announced that the former Rita's concession stand in Lost Kennywood would be turned into the first ever Permane Brothers location in an amusement park. Although I'm not the biggest fan of Permane Brothers, I will admit this was a good move, as pretty much everyone in Pittsburgh loves their sandwiches. I would have thought that the obvious place to put a Permane's would be in Steelers country, but I guess with the End Zone Cafe over there, it wouldn't leave much room for another food stand. Finally, the off-season ended on April 22nd, the park's opening day. The season got off to a slow start. It was a cold, dreary day with sporadic rain. Phantom was only running one train, and Steel Curtain, Aero 360, and Black Widow were all closed. Despite this, I was able to meet up with some friends, and we all had fun that day. We got to see some early testing on Spinvasion, and the light crowds meant that Phantom only running one train wasn't a huge issue. All around the park were new signs covering different decades in Kennywood's history. Some of these came with photo ops, like a Logjammer log by Steel Curtain, and the original Steel Phantom sign by the Lagoon. Derek from X-Scream Thrills and I even made it on the last one in a Steel Curtain picture. The new 1898 coffee shop was completed, as was the repaint and refresh of the Golden Nugget, Pizza Warehouse, and the Pagoda, whose color scheme I'm still torn on. See what I meant when I said they got a bulk deal on paint? As we were walking around checking out all the new additions, one of them drew a very mixed response. The old shooting gallery next to Racer had been removed and replaced by RC trucks with no warning at all from the park. This upset a lot of people. I mean, I get why it was replaced, especially after the incident in the previous season, but it just sucks to see something removed that's been at the park since before I existed. The RC trucks are kind of fun, don't knock 'em till you try 'em, but for all we know, this could even be a temporary replacement. Give it some time and we'll see. At the end of the day, there was an extra hour after closing where pass holders could basically get ERT on the rides in Lost Kennywood. Although Black Widow was originally on the schedule, Thunderbolt was subbed in its place due to it being closed. 1 week later, on April 29th, Steel Curtain would join the ride lineup, and Spinvasion started full-cycle testing. It would only be a matter of time until an opening date was announced. We got a short-lived bit of excitement on May 13th, when Black Widow reopened. It was great to have the ride back, but this didn't last very long as it experienced more problems only a week later on May 20th, and closed again. This time, it would not reopen for 2 months. The disappointment was somewhat mitigated when, after a couple weeks of consistent testing, Spinvasion opened for passholder previews for the weekend of May 19th. It would run for the whole weekend, albeit without the wave motion that had been present during testing. Instead, only the alternating arms motion would be used. Rider reception seemed to be positive, with most considering the ride to be a good spiritual successor to the former Volcano, which occupied the same location. On May 25th, the park held a media day for Spinvasion, which started bright and early at 5 a.m. It seemed like most of the media who were invited decided to wait until later that morning to arrive, and this meant that I and my friend Cam from Steel City Thrills basically got to marathon Spinvasion all morning. It was great fun, but man was it cold. I got some excellent shots of Area 412 and the newly repainted Cosmic Chaos, so this was an all-around fun and chill media event. The next day, on May 26th, Spinvasion had its public grand opening, and from here it would operate mostly consistently for the rest of the summer. Every so often it would be closed, but this would usually get sorted out within an hour or two, or at most by the following day. This was an eventful weekend for Kennywood, as the day after Spinvasion opened, Permane Brothers had its soft opening. This soft opening period would continue for nearly an entire month before the grand opening was held on June 26th. From here, the new food stands seem to be decently popular, and it looks like many people have found a new go-to place to get food inside the park. Here's hoping it sticks around for a while. Well, after a few grand openings and good news from Kennywood, it was time for some bad news, as on June 29th, to nobody's surprise, Steel Curtain would shut down. No reason was given, of course, so the park was back down one coaster. But when one coaster shuts down, another gets stronger. After over 2 months of operating with only one train, Phantom's Purple Train returned to action after its lengthy servicing by S&S. Steel Curtain may have been closed, but Phantom was back to a high capacity, and it was running well. On July 11th, the park made the controversial decision to be closed on Tuesdays for the rest of the season. This attracted a lot of negativity from the public, especially from pass holders, who claimed that they bought passes which could be used on any day during the summer, Tuesdays included. Amidst the negativity, Kennywood would only end up being closed on a single Tuesday the following week before quickly reversing their decision and once again being open every day of the week. On July 14th, Steel Curtain would once again reopen and return to the ride lineup. We still didn't know what the problem was that caused it to close down, but it was back open, so it didn't seem to matter anymore. Speaking of rides reopening, the following week, on July 20th, Raging Rapids reopened after a lengthy multi-year refurbishment project. It had a few issues on the 20th which led to it closing early, but starting on the 21st it operated consistently for the rest of the summer season. Getting back on Raging Rapids after so long was kind of surreal, as I don't think I had ridden it since around 2015 or 2016. It's great to have Rapids back in the ride lineup, but at the risk of coming off as a nostalgic curmudgeon, I really miss the old water effects that used to be present. The waterfall and the water cannons have both been long gone, but now a new access dock was built over top of the area that used to have the water geysers, so those are now gone as well. I don't want to sound unappreciative here, as I'm still very happy to have Rapids back open. It's just much more toned down now. On July 26th, to absolutely no one's surprise, Steel Curtain once again shut down, but this time it was permanent. That's right, at the time of this video, the last time Steel Curtain was open was July 25th. Curtain remained closed for the rest of the summer season, and for Phantom Fall Fest. At this point, I'm disappointed, but not at all surprised. I get the feeling there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't know about, so at the risk of speculating and getting my information wrong, I'll just say I really hope Kennywood and S&S can figure out how to get this thing to run consistently. Either that, or take the L and remove it in favor of something more reliable. It's an amazing ride when it's open. Unfortunately, it is so rarely open. The frustration of Curtain being closed was made slightly more bearable for coaster enthusiasts with the addition of some new merchandise, including a Phantom's Revenge Nano Coaster, which I bought right away, a Thunderbolt coaster cutout, and a Parkscape Skyline model. I really hope we get Nano Coasters for all the Kennywood coasters sometime in the future, and yes, that includes Lil Phantom too. On July 27th, Black Widow finally reopened, and to Kennywood and Zamperla's credit, it seems like they permanently fixed whatever the issue was, because Widow operated consistently for the rest of the year. It feels unreal saying that, but yeah, it was open every single day I visited for the rest of the season, so I pretty much spent all the time where I'd normally be riding Curtain, riding this instead. As July turned into August and the summer started winding down, we got the news that Turtle would be closing for the season early on August 20th. Initially a cause for concern, these concerns were soon put at ease as it was revealed that the early closure was part of a restoration project to ensure longevity of the ride. Turns out that the center support which the cars connect to needed replacement, foundation and all, and this needed to be done before the winter months where the ground hardens. After closing for the season, Turtle's center support was replaced in the following months during Phantom Fall Fest, so it looks like it will be back open on time for the upcoming season. Speaking of Phantom Fall Fest, that time was fast approaching as the last day of the summer season was September 15th. Some concerns had been made regarding Aero 360's future, as it was closed all year, but toward the end of the season new signs were put up with ride trivia, promising a return in 2024, so the ride is safe for now. Although Steel Curtain had been closed for nearly 2 months at this point, it was still listed on the ride list for Phantom Fall Fest. That is until September 12th, when it was quietly removed from the list. This is the moment when most people realized the coaster was effectively done for the year, removing that last bit of hope anyone had for it to reopen. It would only be a few days between the last day of the summer season and the first day of Phantom Fall Fest on September 22nd. Unfortunately, spooky season got off to a rough start at Kennywood, as the opening night was affected by an underground electrical fire only a few days before. Although the park did open on the 22nd, not all attractions were available, so haunts like Voodoo Bayou and nearly all the rides in Lost Kennywood were closed that night. I didn't mind much at the time though, since haunt season has quickly risen in recent years to be my absolute favorite time of year. Kennywood always does a great job decorating the park for Halloween, and the scare actors do a fantastic job staying in character the whole time. Ever since I started taking my own Halloween decorations more seriously, I've had a much greater appreciation for all the work that goes into the design and theming of each haunt. It's excellent stuff. For the second weekend of Phantom Fall Fest, everything was back open, so all the haunts were open and Lost Kennywood was once again accessible. One of the new things introduced during this time was the RIP tour, a behind-the-scenes tour including a buffet-style dinner and daytime walkthroughs of some of the haunts. You know what, I'll just let Garrett explain it here.
Welcome everyone to the VIP, or should I say RIP tour. This tour runs Saturdays and Sundays from 5 to about 6 p.m. It costs $99, and you can come through and see some of the behind the scenes of the haunts, get a dinner, and speedy pass for the evening.
I got the chance to do the RIP tour and walk through Voodoo Bayou, and it was awesome to walk through it during the day. There are a lot of details that you normally miss when it's dark out, and I even got to walk up on top of the back part of Raging Rapids. Never in my life did I think I'd be able to walk over here, and the views of Phantom and Thunderbolt made for some great uncommon angles.
Welcome everyone to the Kennyville Cemetery. We have since relocated to Voodoo Bayou, and this is all concrete. Where's the mulch? Where is the mulch?
Next, we headed over to Malice in Wonderland Unleashed, the new and thankfully very much improved haunt over last year's iteration. This was only the second time I had ever been inside the Steelers Experience building, and we got to just hang out and watch people go through the haunt from above for a while, which was pretty sweet. I still hope they find a more permanent use for this building one day, but at least for now, it houses a great haunt, and that's fine with me. The Halloween season went on pretty well, but as always, before I knew it, the end of October had arrived. Spooky season always goes by too fast, and on October 29th, Phantom Fall Fest came to an end. Myself and a bunch of other coaster enthusiasts gathered at Phantom to be on the last train of the year for Phantom's Revenge, and what a great last ride it was. With that, Kennywood's Halloween season was over, but we still had holiday lights on the horizon. A few days before holiday lights began though, on November 14th, we got an announcement of what the new addition for 2024 would be: Potato Patch themed bumper cars. I had pretty mixed feelings on this when it was revealed. The bumper cars were in desperate need of a refurbishment, so this was needed, but the Potato Patch theme is gonna take some getting used to. I'm trying to keep an open mind and not judge it until I see the finished product, but I have to give them points for creativity. We don't know what the new name will be yet, but I've been calling it Potato Patch Tater Smash. That's probably too long though, so it'll probably just end up being called Potato Smashers or something. I got to see the construction starting on opening night of Holiday Lights, which started earlier than usual on November 18th. Being that only a select few rides are open during Holiday Lights, it's always felt to me like a relaxed cool-down period at the end of the park season, and a way to ease myself out of regular park visits until I can come back. I mean, yeah, I visited plenty of other parks in 2023, but being that Kennywood is my home park, I'm here more often than anywhere else, hence why I'm able to keep track of all this stuff. Holiday Lights did have one new addition to the ride lineup: Spinvasion, which ran reliably as long as it was above 40 degrees. It sure made for a cold ride though. The rides from the previous year returned as well, so Pirate, Kangaroo, Jackrabbit, etc. were all present and accounted for. I usually spend most of my time here watching the model train display. It's so elaborate and I notice something new every time I visit. Even after Christmas, Holiday Lights continued, and much like the previous year, the very last day was January 1st. It was pretty cold, so only a few rides were open, but we still made time to get on the last carousel ride of the season. And with that last ride, Kennywood's 2023 season officially came to an end. So now some time has passed, and we can reflect on the season as a whole. It was certainly not a bad season for Kennywood, and there was plenty to enjoy, like the opening of Spinvasion and Black Widow becoming a reliable ride, somewhat. The rain cloud towering above the entire park, though, is Steel Curtain. Everyone has to be exhausted with this coaster by now. The general public are frustrated with how often it's closed, coaster enthusiasts often make fun of its unreliability, and I'm certain the management of Kennywood are tired of the endless comments they receive on social media asking when Curtain will be open. There is absolutely some behind-the-scenes drama going on with this coaster that we don't know about, but whether or not that all comes to light, something's gotta give here. Either Curtain needs to reopen in 2024 and stay open for the majority of the season, or it needs to be removed. I know it might be rash of me to say that, but it's been 5 years. Push has definitely come to shove. It's not like Curtain being closed ruined the whole season, but having the coaster open definitely would have improved it. Kennywood's 125th season was pretty great, all things considered. The year started with a nice burst of nostalgia, and that theme carried forward for the rest of the year. The 2024 season is already shaping up to be one to look forward to, with the addition of Potato Patch bumper cars and several other improvements being teased by the park this early. If Aero 360 can come back on time for opening day, and maybe Steel Curtain too, then it will be another great year. I'm just hoping for Aero though, as Steel Curtain has never run on a park opening day in its entire 5 years of existence. Maybe this will be the year that changes things, but I wouldn't hold my breath. Anyway, that's enough reminiscing for now. It's time to look forward to a new park season and everything that brings with it. Also, of course, new park trips. Who knows where I'll end up this year? Wherever I go, you can bet I'll be bringing a new video back with me. Thank you all for your viewership and support over the years. I'll do my best to make this year the best one yet for the channel. Please let me know what you thought of Kennywood's 125th season down in the comments, and I'll try to reply to as many as I can. Take care everyone, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time here on Rampaging Rex Productions.